Yo, what's going on guys? Ian77 here. In today's video, we're going to be pushing top ladder live using the best Royal Hogs deck in Clash Royale. Alright, so in today's video, I'm kind of going to be focusing more on giving you guys tips on how to get higher up in ladder yourselves, and just going to be commentating over some of these top ladder games that I'm playing right now. And it looks like we will be against Wallace here, and he is a very good player, so definitely not going to be easy. He will get a queen hit, unfortunately, and he might get a couple hog shots here, so yeah, I'm going to call the early GG. A pretty bad start here, and honestly a pretty hard matchup to play piggies against Hog Rider, and I think he does have so he does have Valkyrie here, I'm pretty sure, so might be even harder than normal as well, and yeah, that's not the best for us right here, but piggies are kind of OP, because they kind of always will break through, even if they have like a ton of counters, I feel like, so there's always a chance you can win. Alright, and by the way guys, I feel like the number one tip for pushing up in ladder is kind of just to be in a good mindset. I feel like, you know, like you want to kind of remain in like a positive mindset even after you like lose a few games, because one of the biggest problems, especially for like the highest players on ladder, is that they kind of get in a bad mindset really easily, and they just like will, I don't know, just like start feeling really annoyed or something after a couple losses, and it kind of just ruins their entire push, and they just end up like tilting and wasting all of those hours or however long they spent pushing up just from that. So it's definitely good to keep a positive mindset, especially for like higher ladder players, but I feel like even in mid ladder it's still always good to have a positive mindset. And yeah, you kind of just also want to be like always focusing on one deck. Like, I know some top ladder players are switching decks very often, so maybe some of you guys try to like switch decks often because you see some top ladder players switching decks, but honestly it's better for most of you guys just to like stick with one main deck and kind of just like choose to level that deck up and stuff, because you never really are always going to have enough like cards and the levels to play every single deck. And if you try to play a deck when it's low level, it's just not going to work out very well for you unless you're like a top ladder player that has like a ton of cards and can like max pretty much everything out. So always good to focus on one deck, and yeah, kind of just like always making sure to take breaks. Like, I know nobody really likes to take a break after they had like a tough loss or something like that, and I can kind of relate with that, but it's always good to like refresh yourself, like go outside or something and just like chill out a bit after like a little bit, because if you just like focus too much on Clash Royale, you're gonna kind of get like a headache and stuff sometimes. And yeah, I feel like it's better to just kind of take it easy, take it as like a fun thing, not like too stressful. And yeah, those are my main tips for this game. I might give a few more in the next game, and we actually might win here, surprisingly. I didn't really think that we'd be able to win, but just need a couple EQs on his tower at this point. We're just going to make sure that we defend first right here, then going to go for the EQs. Alright, and he's going to go with the Hog Rider here, and he does have EQ to break through Arcane. He does have the Hog Rider that can get pretty good damage. He does have Bomb Tower and Valkyrie, so kind of surprised that we actually won that game, but that's kind of just goes to show how broken Royal Hogs are, and also Queen is really good in this matchup. Alright, hopping in the next match here, we're going to be up against Lucas, who is one of the best players in the world right now, so might kind of focus on beating him rather than just like our commentary, but I'm going to still try to give some important tips this match. And it looks like we will be going against some Skelly King decks, so it could be like Mortar or something. Not really too sure what else would use Skeleton King, but just going to have to wait and see here. Okay, so it does have Giant, it looks like, so probably going to be Giant Graveyard here, which is going to be an interesting matchup. The Skelly King is going to be a little bit annoying there for us, but Fire Spray actually going to clean up super nicely. And honestly, the Snowball is kind of a waste by him. I guess he was trying to like predict skeletons or something. I'm not really sure what he was doing there, but got a ton of damage on his tower with the Royal Hogs. I feel like even after the small damage nerf they got, they still do a ton of damage to towers, and really lethal if they get any small lock even. Alright, and yeah, by the way guys, like another good tip is just to like make sure you identify opponents' decks really early on. Like sometimes if you guys don't really like think about it, it can take like a while to realize what the opponent is playing, and that can kind of like ruin you for the entire game, because it can make you like cycle cards that you don't really want to normally end up playing, but you just weren't thinking and you didn't realize that they were playing something. And I know like a lot of you guys in mid ladder can't really do anything about that just because of all the random decks there, but I feel like even some of you guys could probably like identify what the opponent is using earlier. Like if you see like a Mega Knight plus arrows, you could probably assume that there's going to be like a balloon or like a graveyard with it, rather than thinking that it could be something else, because you can kind of still get like a hint of what it might be. So that's definitely a good thing to do. And yeah, so you kind of just want to like be a bit more cautious, and then once you kind of figure out their deck, then you can be aggressive as you normally might be. But before that, you kind of want to be a little bit more passive and feeling what the opponent has, even though it is a bit hard in mid ladder. But especially once you transition to top ladder, you're going to kind of have to do that and figure out opponent's decks really quickly. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of make it really weird for you, because you'll never really know what to cycle, or otherwise you could get like punished for it. So yeah, definitely a really good thing to learn. And we're actually going to take his tower pretty much here. I think the Fire Spirit going to almost take it out. And I really like Cannon. Like the reason that I'm playing Cannon in these cycle decks, just because it's so good against like Giant and these stuff. Like it just does so much on point DPS, and it's so cheap for only 3 elixir, and still does like as good as other buildings in a lot of these scenarios. The only thing it's worse against is like air, I feel like, and maybe like it does worse against like EQ decks like Royal Hogs or something. Alright, so that will be GG right here. Really nice win against one of the best players. Alright, hopping in the next match here, I think we're going to be up against a Goblin drill player, so will be a bit of an interesting matchup. We don't have like a Valkyrie or something, but we do have Log and we do have Fire Spirit to kill the Goblins, so should be pretty decent here anyways. And by the way, guys, just wanted to ask you, what was like the most successful strategy that you guys had in mid ladder? Like what like kind of worked the best for you? Like what strategies or what decks did you guys use that got you the most success in it? Kind of just like wondering how things are for you guys. And I might make another mid ladder video again soon, so could probably take into account what you guys say here, like what works for you, what doesn't in mid ladder, and kind of the experience of it for you guys, because I know I play it a bit myself on my mini account and stuff, but kind of just like getting started in it, so don't really know like all the things that you guys might know if you're in mid ladder and have been there for a while. So interested to hear what you guys have to say. Make sure to comment down below if you have anything interesting to say. Alright, so in this matchup we already got like a really big damage lead right away. Honestly, Royal Hogs isn't like too good against Goblin Drill in general, but already took like the majority, I mean not like the majority of his tower, but he took like a big chunk of his tower just from like the one Queen getting like way too much damage. I feel like Queen is still so crazy OP. Not sure if I'll ever do like a tier list of like ranking the cards, but maybe someday I could try and I could kind of give you guys my opinions. But the power of the cards kind of really depends on how many trophies you're at. Like I know a lot of you guys complain about stuff like wizards and all that, but at top ladder it's not very good. But I know like a couple players do use it even at top ladder, so I guess it can work sometimes in the right hands. Alright, his Goblin Drill will get a bit of chip damage, but luckily he does have Inferno Tower over like a Tesla or something, so always going to be like a bit of a awkward building for him to use against the Hoggies, and especially once we get like an EQ off on it, it's going to kind of just break through the Inferno Tower very easily. So yeah, just going to chill out a bit right here. No need to be like too aggressive here, kind of like also making sure to like save my logs and stuff, just so I always have like the proper response for his drills, because it is kind of hard to counter them without the login cycle. I can always get like a delivery or something, but it doesn't really work too well, so prefer to kind of just save stuff. And yeah, even though he doesn't have like a log in his deck to push back the Hoggies, he does have Armor and Valkyrie, so kind of cleans it up super nicely and also gives him a good amount of counter push. But looking pretty good here so far, always making sure to save our 1 elixir cards to stop his drilling. I actually went with Royal Hogs there, kind of predicting that he might go for a Fireball, and gonna really pay off for us right there. Royal Hogs gonna take like so much of his tower, and yeah, even though it can be like quite hard to defend the Goblin Drills plus Fireballs that he might use sometimes, it's also really really nice if you go with like Hoggies at the exact same time, so you can kind of like outplay that play that they sometimes use to get a lot of damage if you make the right plays yourself. So yeah, looking really good right here. Just gonna cycle a few more EQs, and it probably will be game in a second here. And honestly, Cannon is also super good against stuff like wall breakers and things, because it always will counter them for like 3 elixir, even though normally the buildings that would counter the wall breakers would be like 4 elixir, like a bomb tower or a Tesla. We did actually have drag glitch there, so it is actually getting quite close here. Couldn't really do anything about it, but I think this should still be game. Just gonna royal delivery, and I'm gonna make sure to cycle back to another EQ as quickly as possible, and yeah, that should be game. Hopping in the next game, we're going to be up against a really good graveyard player here, so very lucky that we're not using Hog Rider here, because it is really difficult to beat Splash Guard once you use a Hog Rider deck, but luckily we do have Royal Hogs here, which should be a bit better, because you can't really tornado them all to his King Tower as well, or anything like that, so yeah, it is nice to have Royal Hogs. I feel like you can beat some of those matchups that Hog Rider just struggles against quite a bit, such as like most graveyard decks and stuff like that, but the one thing you do have to watch out for is Mega Knight, so yeah. Honestly guys, if you decide to try this deck and you're like a mid-ladder player, you have to make sure that you know this deck super well before really trying to use it too seriously, because it is a pretty high skill deck once you face like stuff like Mega Knight and those types of things. Like, it's not the hardest deck to play at all, but when you face like those Mega Knights, like, which are pretty prevalent in mid-ladder, it does become quite a high skill deck to beat Mega Knight, so you have to be a bit careful with that. And also, like, there's going to be a lot of wizards and Valkyries and all that stuff, so you have to make sure that you're maybe a bit more passive than you're seeing me play in these games, because you will get like punished a lot easier by those weird mid-ladder cards. And yeah, so it's nice that this guy has Knight here actually over like a Valkyrie or something, so our Royal Hogs will get more value than normal, and already put us in a pretty good damage lead just from like a few EQs and like lucky Royal Hogs hits and all that stuff. So looking pretty good here, and Queen will force out quite a lot of elixir from him, I think. That's not even going to stop, he's still going to need something on it, and he is going to use the baby dragon, so he pretty much just emptied his elixir bar just on like a single queen that we used to counter his knight. So looking super good right here. Gonna go with the Royal Hogs again. Might seem like a little bit aggressive, but he just spent like basically his entire elixir bar, so he shouldn't really have too much for this. Looks like he will go in with the NATO there, kind of pulling the Hoggies into the other lane, but still gonna get a couple of chip hits in the lane that we were going for. And we could honestly switch lanes here, because it is better to go opposite lane of Graveyard when you're using this deck, but honestly no point to really do that, because we already have so much damage in this one lane, so might as well just keep going in it, even though it will be a little bit more difficult to go in the same lane. I'm just going to rely on this queen to finish off those skeletons. I'm going to do a pretty okay job. He will get a good amount of chip damage, kind of unfortunately, but I'm going to get an EQ off here, and we can kind of cycle EQs on offense, even though we do have to save the EQs for his splash yard, or for his graveyard, I mean, most of the time. We can kind of like cycle the EQs super fast while we have the queen on the board, because it does give us the 3-card cycle, as I always say. So yeah, pretty good right here, and we kind of killed his Ice Wizard just right away with the Royal Delivery, so didn't even need to use the EQ on that graveyard, and he will poison as well there, but Cannon still pretty much cleaned up the entire thing. I'm just going to get an EQ on offense here, just because he went with the pretty aggressive poison as well, so no reason not to cycle the EQ right there. And honestly, Royal Delivery is really nice, kind of just like stops his pushes in their tracks before they even cross the bridge, so it allows us to defend his graveyards with just like the Archer Queen or a Cannon. And yeah, so he is going with like the really smart tombstone placement. It kind of like allows him to avoid the EQs, and that will be game. So thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!